And on Mondays, we talk about real estate in the second half of the mid-morning mix. Brent Ward is with us this morning with the Central West Tennessee Association of Realtors, and they are the presenter of this show, and sponsored by Leaders Mortgage Services, Allstate Insurance, Angie Hooten Hughes agent, and Bird & Bird Attorneys. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Jimmy. How are you this morning?
I'm doing fine. I was a little bit worried. You came in with a bandage on your thumb, and I said maybe the virus is now attacking thumbs.
Attacking thumbs.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I was expecting to find people wrapped up in plastic bags and stuff. I didn't know, So.
Hey, man, I'm telling you, it's crazy out there.
Yeah, it's been a week around my house, I can tell you right now. So while everybody's all worried about the coronavirus, both my oldest son and my youngest son ended up with flu type A.
Ooh.
And then my youngest son, because of his asthma issues, he ended up with pneumonia. Mm-hmm. Ended up in the not in the hospital, but went back to the doctor 3 times, and so finally got both of those well. His oxygen levels back up, and then I thought it would be an awesome idea Sunday night to try to cut my thumb off. And so I ended up at the convenient care over in Medina.
Yep.
Because convenient care at Jackson's only seeing respiratory patients right now.
Yeah, that's true.
And so yeah, it's been an interesting week around my house, and so I got a new tetanus shot, which is still sore. And made me feel pretty rough yesterday, which that's part of the side effects.
Yep,
of
that's
getting
true.
them. All my muscles were sore, and I was just like, we didn't do anything yesterday. We just church was canceled.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, we had church, but we also had it on Facebook. So
okay.
I think we did not go because I'm a little at risk with being an asthmatic child, and also having a couple of bouts with blood clots in lungs over the past 2 or 3 years. So we played a little bit safe yesterday and tried to stay home.
I don't think it's wrong with just being safe. I think we've gone a little crazy with some of the stuff. Like I was telling you before the show, I really needed to go out and get toilet tissue the other day, but I was just like, okay, I feel embarrassed about going out to buy it because I'm not trying to hoard it. I just need some. I was down to 2 rolls, and so I ended up buying some. But it was kind of funny. I went down the aisle. I didn't get a cart. I just went to the aisle, and I was like, okay, they got toilet tissue, and they had one package of like 18 rolls. Yeah. And I was like, that'll last me like a month, so I'm good. And so I went back to get a basket. When I went back to get a basket, I saw another lady checking out with a thing of 18 rolls, and a lady's like, excuse me, where did you get that roll? And I was like, she's supposed to go get my last pack of toilet paper.
That's right.
So I grabbed my cart and took off back down. I got my 18 pack of toilet tissue, and I was like, okay, I'm good. I passed her in the aisle.
As with anything else, the jokes and the thing and the little cartoons and all that stuff are out there. I saw one yesterday that I found rather humorous, but I have a warped sense of humor.
Okay, what's that?
CBD, that's the big thing.
Yeah,
now,
right.
CBD,
CBD
because in some cases it has a calming effect.
That's right.
So there was this green roll of toilet paper in the picture, and it said CBD toilet paper. It calms your rear end down. So, I don't think I'm gonna buy any of that either. There is no such thing, folks. It was a joke, but
well, you know what you call somebody that has coronavirus twice, right?
No,
Dos Equis.
But
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Folks. Oh man, that's terrible.
Dwayne, if you're listening to the show, I'm sorry. I had to tell it.
Oh no, I like that one. I had not heard that one.
He just shakes his head when I tell that. Somebody told that at the office the other day. I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah, I'll have to use that. I mean, I'll footnote you. If I
no
use
problem.
That, yeah.
Just go right ahead.
But this is us. We're supposed to be talking about real estate.
Well,
by the way, before we get into that,
yes,
we are on Facebook Live today.
We are.
And Paul Schulze with Worthy Road Studios is back in the booth over in the corner behind the curtain. Yeah, Paul, give us a wave if you're free.
Yeah, make sure you don't touch the wall. We'll have to wipe it down.
Yeah, we'll have to wipe the walls down. Now, Paul and I were talking off mic a little bit, and again, Paul does all of our social media for us, make sure we get everything out there where it's supposed to be, and in a proper and professional manner, and does a great job for us. He can also do a good job for you. In these strange times that we find ourselves in, if you are having meetings or get-togethers or gatherings that really you need to get the information disseminated to, whether it's a group of citizens or a group in your office or whatever, if you would like to do that by social media, Paul Schulze would be the man that I would call. Mm-hmm. It's Worthy Road Studios. And Paul, if you'll pass me a phone number, I'm sorry I don't have it here in front of me, but we'll give it to everybody. And you can call Paul, and he can get you all lined up, be it Facebook Live or whatever the case may be. It's 731 16MAR2020. Live stream your events with Worthy Road Studios, and as we said, we use Paul because we know what we're going to get. We know the results are going to be very professional and going to be the best it can be. And if you would like to take advantage of that right now, call Paul at 731-499-1730 and let him live stream your upcoming events for the next few weeks. That way you won't have to subject your people to passing the disease around.
Yeah, a lot of places, especially like associations, like Memphis Area Association Realtors, they actually closed their doors. They canceled all their classes, and they're all working at home full time, but there's nobody at the office. And the Tennessee Association Realtors, they're there, but they've canceled all appointments, all meetings, all classes, all everything. So it's just their staff coming in, working, and then going home.
Yeah, a lot of people are doing that, and a lot of people are going to the live streaming, which is a great thing.
It is.
I mean, every now and then, we kind of trash sometimes the social media outlets because of all the junk that is out there.
A lot of that, yes.
But in a crisis situation like this, or an emergency situation like this, it is an excellent way to get the word out there.
Well, as you talk about, you just can't go crawl under a rock and hide for the next 2 months and wait till summer gets here, and hopefully all this will burn off. But so you got to keep on moving along as best you can. Just as I wrote a little article we posted on our closed Facebook group the other day, and basically it's the same thing you've been hearing all over the place is just, wash your hands, don't touch your mouth and your nose, even though I'm over here scratching my nose because I can't help it. I mean, now that you're not supposed to, so it's either I'm more aware of it now, or now that I know I'm not supposed to, I want to just scratch my face. But I try to use the back of my hand or my sleeve or something if I need to wipe my eye or whatever. But wash your hands, which I do frequently all the time. And if you've got hand sanitizer, use that if you can find some.
Good luck on that.
Yeah, good luck on that. But just being smart, stuff you should always do, honestly.
Really? Yeah.
I mean, that's just somebody pointed out the other day, we'd all been doing this all along in the first place.
Yep. I went to a large gathering the other night. I say large, it was, I'm going to guess 75, 85 maybe people in there. And it was kind of strange because it's your reaction when you walk into a room full of men. It was a men's gathering, and
shaking hands with everybody.
Your hand out. Yep. Well, you either got yes, I'll shake your hand. I'm not sscared of you. I know where you've been, or you get the fist, or you get the fist bump, or we got the elbow thing.
Yeah, the elbow.
And I asked a gentleman. I said, now when we start wearing short sleeve shirts again, are we still going to be able to elbow? And he said yes, because most people don't pick their nose with their elbow. And I said, well, you got a point there.
Oh my goodness.
The elbow is something we can't get our face to.
No, you can't.
So
you really can't.
You still be able to bump a naked elbow when the short sleeve shirts return.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Oh man. But anyway, it's out there. Have you seen any or are y'all making any changes as far as protocols for showing homes or?
Somebody actually had an agent email me about that the other day, and NAR did put out a letter that I sent out to all the agents, and I didn't read through the whole thing, but it was really just some precautions to use, when you're out showing property, and if you're listing a house, and precautions you can use. But, basically it's the same thing that we've been talking about is just, don't use your hands to open the doorknobs, and if you do, use a towel or your sleeve or whatever, and then just try to wipe down. And like even in our own office, that's what we're doing whenever we have like classes a week. Last week we had a couple of classes. As soon as we get done, Dwayne jumps up and runs around with a disinfectant wipe and cleans off all the door handles and everything once everybody's gone, because there's just 3 of us working up there all the time, And that's really about all you can do. I mean, if you need to sell your house, you need to sell your house. And that's just one of those things that, as realtors, you got to have us, because people got to come inside the house. I mean, that's one thing social media has not been able to take the place of, is that physical presence inside the house. You want to come in and look at it.
Back a long time ago when motels didn't have phones in every room or TVs in every room, they'd always put that little sign out there when they upgraded, TVs in every room. Maybe now if you're selling your house, out there on top of the little realtor sign, you could put sanitize daily.
And that might actually be it. Right now, that might be an excellent selling feature.
It might. It very well might.
Putting that on the sign or,
But that's a two-way street, too. When you're out looking at houses, be nice and wear gloves, wear rubber gloves or whatever. And you may even go so far, although they say that the masks are really not that big a deal at this point.
If you're sick, you should wear a mask. If you're not sick, don't wear the mask.
Exactly. Let somebody else have that one. Exactly. So, but be considerate about it. If you're going in somebody else's house, don't be grabbing onto everything with a bare hand.
Well, we got, and now's the perfect time to talk about it. We actually have real estate classes starting at the end of this month,
right.
Which we've talked about on here before. So if you're interested in becoming a realtor, we have classes starting at the board office on March the 30th. That'll run through April the 10th from 9 to 4. It's 2 weeks. That'll get you your 60 hours pre-licensing to set for the exam. And we actually had somebody call us the other day and wanted to know, like, what kind of steps were we taking in order to try to cut down, and like you said, the best thing we can do is, hey, and this is what I put on my email I sent out the other day, and this goes to everybody, if you're hacking and coughing and sneezing and you're not generally feeling well, please don't come to the board office. That's just something that you should just not do. And so that's pretty much about all I could tell them was, if you're coming to class, we'll keep everything wiped down. We'll keep it as clean as possible. We got hand sanitizers everywhere, warm water and soap. We got it in every bathroom. And but if you're hacking and coughing and carrying on, please stay home.
Yeah.
Don't get out around everybody, because you freak everybody out. Because Dana, who works there in our office, she was somewhere the other night and was standing in line behind a lady who just turned around and just sneezed right out.
Thank you.
Right out in the middle of the store. Didn't cover her arm or nose or nothing. Just sneezed right out into the wild open of the store that she was in. And she goes, and here I am standing there with my granddaughter and my daughter. And she goes, I was so mad. She texted me. She goes, I'm fixing to go to jail because I'm fixing to punch this lady. And I was like, okay, well, hang on.
Yeah.
Don't do that. We don't want you to do that.
Yes.
But yeah, just be smart, be considerate. That's the main thing. It's
right.
Just be considerate about other people around you. And, if you're not feeling well, just stay home. I mean, it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Of course,
so as of right now, those classes will continue, right?
Those classes as of right now, unless something changes and Jackson shuts down even more than it already has, we're going to keep moving forward. But, and that's one of the things I told somebody the other day in my position where I am. I mean, I have to really stop and think, because my personal opinions about it, where I think we might be going a little overboard, I have to kind of put those to the side and think about what's really best for the members and the public and everybody else, no matter, put my personal feelings to the side. And so if that time comes, I'll just have to make that decision and decide then. And,
True.
And if we do decide to cancel, we'll refund or reschedule or whatever we need to do in order to. And that, a lot of that's going to depend on the Tennessee Real Estate Education Systems, who's coming to teach the class on whether or not they want to come do it. So, and right now they are still going through with all their classes at all their schools up in Middle and East Tennessee. So
good deal.
So anyways.
All right. Now, we were going to talk about, your subject of the morning was buyer and seller beware.
Yeah.
What are we being aware of?
Well, really just about a little bit of everything. I got to thinking about this. Something came up, and I'll try to save this for the last part of the show.
Okay.
Hopefully we don't run out of time. But, I was thinking back about some stuff that I had done personally over the years to my houses, and how you always hear all the time that cheapest is not always the best, right?
Yep, for sure.
And the most expensive is not always the best either. So you just have to be smart about a lot of stuff. But, try to get as many references when you're calling in people to do work on your house. If you're getting ready to sell and, maybe they've come back to you and they're asking you to do some repairs on your property, sometimes it's not always the best to find the cheapest person that you can find to come in and do these repairs, because even though you're getting ready to move out of the house and somebody else is coming in, it may not work out in your favor to begin with before you ever get going. What I mean by that, I can remember when I moved from my house out in Wrights Mill, we had a tree that was rubbing up against the house, and it broke some of the shingles right on the eave of the house.
Right.
And just that two or three shingles needed to be replaced. That was it. And then we had some flaps around one of the vent pipes around the house that needed to be replaced. So I called a roofer. I didn't know him very well, but he'd been around a while. And I called him, told him what I needed, and he's like, "Oh we can get that done, no problems." And so when I get home that afternoon, he had crawled up there and he'd replaced the two things that I'd asked him to do, but he also fixed 8 other things that he said need to be fixed on my house. So the price that he quoted me now was 2.5 times the amount that it was when we got going.
Yeah.
Now, I guess I wasn't necessarily obligated to pay him, but I did go ahead and pay him what he asked me for the second time. But then he got really offended when I told him, I was like, first of all, I can't believe that you would do this because of what I do for a living. I said, because you know what I'm going to do, right? And he was like, well, no. I was like, I sell real estate for a living. I said, I'm going to go back and tell everybody that I know, don't use you.
Yeah.
And I said, because you quoted me one price and then did work that I didn't ask you to do.
Exactly.
And then quoted me. And he's like, oh, well, wait a minute. Now let's talk about this. I was like, no, it's too late now.
That's right.
No, I was like, you can't come in and change it.
Yeah, get up there and take it down.
Yeah. I mean, so, damage is done. And then I had some tree guys that came by one time that we had a dead tree in our backyard. This is where I live now. And they said, oh, yeah, we could take that tree down, I don't know, like $200 or something. I was like, all right, that's fine. And they showed me pictures. They had where they'd done jobs and stuff. I said, yeah, that's fine. Well, I come home that afternoon, check on them, see how they're doing. Oh, this tree's a lot bigger than we thought. It's taking us a lot longer, and here we go. And then they were just like, it's probably going to cost a little bit more to get it down or whatever. I'm like, okay. And then the next time they came by, they drove down the street one day, and they were just like, hey, Mr. Ward, say, we see got another tree in the back. I was like, no, I'm good. I'll get somebody else to take it down. So I paid a little bit more the next time, but that guy took it down, hauled it off. He was in and out and gone, and half morning he was out.
Yep.
And
it amazes me how people think they can get away with that stuff.
Well, I don't understand why they do that. And I mean, and there's a reason why if you get somebody that's good and they come out and they give you a quote and you look at it and you go, well, that seems a little high. But the reason they're doing that is because they're taking into consideration they don't know what they're really getting into, because a lot of construction work, you don't really know what you're getting into until you get in there.
No, especially when you're doing repairs and renovations and things like that. There may be a world of problems behind that sheetrock.
Behind that sheetrock, yeah. If you've ever watched, and I hate to reference HGTV, but I'm going to for a minute, because sometimes when they get into there, some of that stuff really is true to life. When they're buying a house that they're going to rehab and they're looking at the surface, what they can see when they go in, they're like, oh, okay, well, we can change this out, we can change that out, and they buy it for this price. They got estimated that it's going to cost them this much to fix the things that they want done or update the things they want done. They start tearing into it and they find out it's got water damage or termite damage, or it wasn't built correctly, or whatever the case may be, or now that it's got to be brought up to code, which a lot of people don't realize that. Is that you start tearing into stuff sometimes, and depends on how far you get into it. Now then you got to bring up what you're working on up to code.
Exactly.
I think I talked about this, was it last week or week before last? I talked about this, that in our office where we have a pressure relief valve that's like 2 feet across, this giant copper thing. You've probably seen these things because you go in and you used to do the commercial inspections.
Oh, yeah.
I have no need for that whatsoever in the line of work that we're in.
Yeah.
But my understanding is every commercial building in Jackson has one of those things in it somewhere.
Yeah.
And mine has this giant copper pipe, giant copper wire attached to the top of it. That's the ground for the building, which at that time it was okay to do that, but they don't do that anymore. You can't ground them to that thing anymore.
Yeah.
And so JEA told me, they said, well, I mean, we're not going to make you change it. It was code at the time it was put in. But if we ever have to remove the pigtail off your building out here and we got to do work on it, then when we come back in, we'll undo it. And now you got to bring it up to code. That's right. Put it where it's supposed to be.
Man.
So, yeah. So, and that was part of it, just, be aware about who you're getting into. And sometimes, even though you do your best to try to do your due diligence and you ask around, I had some customers of mine who also lived out at Wright's Mill. It's a family that my parents had worked with and then I started working with when they retired. They wanted to put a fence up in their backyard. And so they asked all around the neighborhood, and this guy had put up 12 fences around the neighborhood out at Wright's Mill. Mm-hmm. And so they hired the same guy that put up all these other fences. So they came in, they paid him a little bit on the front end. So he went out and he put up all the 4x4 posts. He put on all the runner panels. He told him, he said, okay, we got all that done. If I can go ahead and get the second half of the payment or whatever, and then I'll come back. So they paid him the second half, never showed up again.
Yeah.
And he put up 12 fences in the neighborhood, and then he just went totally AWOL. I mean, so there they had all this. They had the 4x4 posts. They had the stringer boards on the back of them, but they didn't have any of the panel boards up, and they'd already paid him, and then he was gone. So now they had to turn around and repay somebody to come in just to put up the dog ear fence panels, you know.
Well, he may have wanted out of there before those other 12 started to fall over.
Good point. I didn't think about that.
He may be smarter than we think.
Oh,
yeah,
Lord.
well, I mean, they're out there, and right now, when John Allen and I talked about this last week, it's Davidson County and Wilson County and all up through there where the tornado hit. I guarantee you, the trees are full of vultures.
Oh, yeah. And they come in from everywhere.
Yeah.
That's another thing. If you're in one of those areas and you need work done, and it happens here when we've had tornadoes come through here, if somebody's been in business here for a long time, I'd say that's a pretty safe bet.
Sure.
When you're hiring somebody to come in, you have to be careful because they'll come in and work under somebody else's license, but they're not actually from here,
right,
and they're not actually part of that company. And when they're done with their job and they're gone, just because that was the license of somebody local, they're not responsible for the job that these people did when they came in.
Yeah, the guy that let them use the license.
That's right. So you just have to be really careful about that.
Yeah. Anybody with a brand new Ford F-150 and a magnetic sign, beware.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of those running around all the time.
Or a Silverado, it doesn't matter. I'm not picking on Ford.
Yeah, don't pick on Ford. That's right.
No.
Well, before I get into my next thing I'll talk about, we've got some sponsors here. I think you mentioned them a little bit.
Yeah, we do. These folks have been sponsors since early on with the Voice for Real Estate, and we appreciate what they do for us. And they are integral in getting a new home bought or an older home sold. So you're going to need these three things for sure, so why not go with the best in the business? First of all, you're going to be looking at mortgages, and I know you're tired of hearing. It's almost as tiresome as wash your hands.
Yes.
And that is mortgage rates are at record lows, but they are.
They are.
And, it's amazing, especially if you're older and you remember back in the 70s and 80s when it was double digits,
yes.
Yeah, and big double digits. Nowadays, nowadays the rates are low. Not only that, but there's so many different programs out there that they can tailor to fit your needs. What you need to do before you go looking for houses is call Leaders Mortgage Services. Give them a call. Go by and sit down with them face-to-face over the table. Let them know what you're about to do. Let them do the early indicator or the early, search of your credit.
Yes.
And let them look at your income and expense situation, and they can give you an idea of exactly what range of house that you need to be looking in. And that way you don't waste a lot of time. You don't waste the realtor's time either. Get that done, and then talk to them about a mortgage. They'll put you in one that is affordable and one that's going to be one that is tailored to make it nice for you. When you open that door, when you come home from work, you've got a place that you can be a refuge.
That's right.
And you don't have that big mortgage payment staring you in the face. Leaders Mortgage Services. Give them a call. Angie Hooten Hughes is your agent for Allstate Insurance. Not only does she do homeowners insurance, which is required on any loan, whether you've got a mortgage on it or not, you need to have homeowners insurance on it. Just because you don't have a mortgage don't mean that there can't be storm damage or fire damage or whatever. So make sure you've got it insured properly. Sit down with Angie or her agents at Allstate Insurance. Let them know what you've got and let them put a package together that would include your homeowners, your automobile, your life insurance, your liability insurance, anything you can think of. They can package it, save you time, save you money, and call Angie. Her number is 901-373-6060, and there's a local number also, 668-1990. And you're going to need an attorney when it comes time to close that loan or whatever is going on in your part of the world. Maybe just refinancing. You're going to need an attorney to do that too. And Bird & Bird has been doing real estate law in Jackson and West Tennessee since 1985. They know what they're doing. They do it right every time. Charles Bird Sr. will review all of the aspects of your transaction, including research and verification of titles, covenants and restrictions, and other things like zoning and deed restrictions also. So when you need an attorney, real estate attorney, it's Bird & Bird, 424-7188. Back to Brent Ward.
All right. So if you're watching me on Facebook Live and you see me glaring out into the audience out here, not glaring, but I get these little doe-eyed look thing going on. My daughter and my son are sitting out in the audience out here.
And being quite nice, I must admit.
They are being very good, except for my daughter keeps holding her hand out like this. She wants me to come. She wants to come up here and me come down there. So, and she keeps waving at me. So if you see me doing that or waving, you know what I'm doing.
You know what you're doing.
You know what I'm doing.
Right.
So the next thing I want to talk about is talking about that there are licensed people out there, people that actually hold a license.
Sure.
That I don't know if you want to say take advantage of the fact that they're holding a license, or I'm not sure exactly how I want to word this one to be exactly, but this is just something that's come up. And I kind of mentioned it last week. We've had some really good home inspectors on the show over the year. We had one on last week.
Yes, we did.
And then Pete Dubison was the sponsor of the show there for a little while. And a few years ago, that was one of the things that Tennessee changed for a while there. Anybody could be a home inspector. All you had to do was say I was a home inspector.
Sure.
That was it.
Yeah.
Then they finally got smart and said, okay, well, I think these guys might really need to have some license or something. They're going under telling people what's wrong with their houses, right? And that put a lot of, quote, home inspectors out of business because they had to get a license and they knew that they couldn't do it or they didn't want to go to the school for it.
Right.
And but, Pete was somebody that I had used in the past, and he had my repeat business. Excuse me. He had my repeat business because every time I bought a house or my parents bought a house, that's just who we called to come out and do our home inspection. But, there are some out there, and agents, you'll hear agents sometimes talk about it, that we kind of get the idea that they come in, that their whole purpose is to try to figure out some way to kill the deal. Because, when I see somebody that says, hey, I've got repeat customers, and that's great that you got repeat customers, but you have multiple repeat customers before the customer ever actually purchases a house because you killed all of them, like up until that point.
Exactly.
And you got paid on every single one of those. To me, that kind of throws up a few red flags,
Sure.
when you go in. And so as part of the show that I was talking about today about being aware about repair people and everything else, it's also those licensed people that are out there, getting referrals and have people used them before, and talk to the person that's helping you try to sell your house or trying to help you find another house and get their opinions, because as our home inspector last week pointed out, as realtors, we got a long list of people that that we have used over the years, that we have compiled that list. And trust me, if you don't do a good job, you're not on the list. I can tell you right now.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, we don't.
Well, you're not going to put your reputation on the
That's
line
right.
if they're not
We're
doing
not.
it right.
Now, we don't typically go out because we've been told not to, liability reasons. We don't go out and say, hey, use this guy right here, because then if they do something bad, now you're held responsible.
Then you're in trouble.
Give a list of preferred vendors, and these are people that we've used or talked to or has done jobs for us, or, as our home inspector last week talked about, he's only got like 2 that he would refer only if somebody asked, and that's only because he's used them on his own personal house.
Right.
So he's familiar with the type of work that they use, And so that just go to the people that have the knowledge and that's been doing this for a while and talk to them, because what a lot of people don't realize is real estate laws, they are totally different from state to state to state.
Oh, yeah.
So, if you got somebody that moved here from another state that's doing the same thing that they did in the state that they came from, that does not make them better at what they do. They may be totally off the mark on what it is that they're doing because they're coming through with what they learned from the state that they came from.
Exactly.
And because I hear that all the time. Well, why is it done this way? Because this is not the way it's supposed to be done. I'll be like, well, where are you coming from? Because if you're coming from, let's say, Georgia or Mississippi, maybe that's fine, or maybe that's not the way it's supposed to be done there. But in Tennessee, this is the way we do it here. Yeah. Because there was a law that was getting ready to go down. I'm switching from this into something else, but it's kind of the same field. There was something on the record about in Tennessee that if you hired a contractor, I don't think this bill might have been put on hold for right now, but if you hired a contractor or builder to build something for you, there had to be a blueprint associated with it, and they weren't allowed to deviate from that blueprint more than, I want to say like 5%. It was some weird number, equation. And, and of course that was very concerning to at least the builders here. And I would say it probably would be for anybody anywhere because, we get blueprints in, but most of these blueprints are drafted up north somewhere.
Sure.
So the building for these houses up north is going to be different than they are here, but it's not like you can't take that same blueprint, come out here, dig your footings, pour the concrete, put in the block walls before you ever get to the structure of the house.
For sure.
Because you do those kind of things all the time, but up north it might not be that way. It might be different, but on the blueprint, that's the way it's drawn.
Exactly.
And so they were literally concerned about that because they're just like, well, that's going to cost the homeowner a lot more money because that means we'd have to have somebody redraw the blueprints to our specifications for Jackson, Tennessee, or Madison County, and then build their house and hope we didn't deviate more than 5% away from it because now all of a sudden we're, misdemeanor if we do, or we have to give them back money, So it's funny how things are different from state to state and how people do things. And I had an agent from Nashville call me just Friday of last week and was asking about closing costs in our area, like what's our normal for closing costs and who pays titles and who do you expect.
Right.
And so things, whether it be repairs or home inspections or building or contractors or whatever the case may be, things just vary from market to market. And that's another reason why it's always important to use somebody that's local that knows what's expected, in this market area.
Absolutely.
So anyways, that was kind of the gist of my show today. It's just being buyer aware. You always heard that term, buyer beware, which actually that was a term that was established from real estate back before the National Association of Realtors was put into play.
Well, everybody needs to have a certain level of competency if they're going to make a decision and put it in writing that can affect someone else. And I know in the appraisal business, when I was there, that was a big part of the uniform standards, the federal law, that you had to state in your transmittal letter that you had the proper background and education to complete this assignment competently. And if you put that in writing and sign it, I don't know about you, but if I'm going to sign that, I'm going to make sure that this is not something that I don't know anything about.
Exactly. No, I'm right there with you on that one. Before I put my name on it or I'm going to attach my name to it, I want to make sure I know exactly what I'm talking about.
That's for sure. Brent Ward is with us this morning from CWTAR, and my condolences. You should be in sunny California right now, but
I should be. Yeah, that's where I should be. I should be on my way back tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but you got caught up in the plague that is shutting down the country.
I know. Oh my goodness.
Again, your chances of catching it are probably a little less because you didn't go.
Well, that's probably true. And you know what? It's perfectly fine. I was kind of, like I said last week, I was mixed feelings about it. I was kind of wanting to go. I'd been to the same spot before, so I know my way around. But on the flip side, I always hate having to leave the family to travel, especially to California. That's a long trip.
On
an airplane, that's a long trip.
Stuck in a tube with other people. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, it'll be there when you get ready to go back.
Oh,
that's
it will
a good
be.
thing.
It will be.
That's a good thing. Appreciate you coming in, taking time
Jimmy.
to be with us
Appreciate
this morning. This presentation of CWTAR, the Central West Tennessee Association of Realtors. It's called The Voice for Real Estate. We do it every Monday morning at about 9:15. And we'll do it again next week. You be here and be with us. It's 9:46. Eddie Holmes headed this way.
There's a